First of all, I'd like to start by asking you to raise your hand if you worry about the environment. We all do, right? Now, raise your hand if you've ever heard anyone say that you should ride bikes instead of cars to school or to work. Again, we all have. Nowadays, most people are aware of the fact that some of our daily actions have negative consequences for the environment, but there's something we don't really think or talk about that much. Now, I'd like you to raise your hand if you emit or consume animal-based products. Most of us do, and that is not surprising at all, since in most countries around the world, the number of people who avoid eating meat is extremely low, and when we talk about consuming animal-based products in general, the numbers are even lower. Especially in northern and western societies, eating huge amounts of meat is a strong cultural aspect. I bet some of you have heard of the environmental impacts of livestock farming, but unfortunately, that may not be the case for some of you, as it is not the case for most people. So that's what I'm going to be talking about. Just a few minutes ago, I mentioned some actions we can take to avoid water waste and air pollution, so let's start there. Livestock is responsible for a big part of the greenhouse gases that are known to be causing global warming. And the number of gases produced is considerable, not only when compared to agriculture, but in comparison to all activities that eliminate those gases. Even when we compare it to cars or industries, which are very often referred by the media as the big villains for global warming. And when we talk about water, the situation is even more concerning. This industry is by far the biggest water consumer when compared to any other commodity. And even though you might have heard that agriculture is the biggest water consuming activity, a good part of these productions are destined to the feeding of livestock. It all comes back to the meat industry. The production of 1 kilogram of wheat requires less than 1/10 of the amount of water necessary to produce the same amount of steak. And when we talk about soybeans, the numbers are much higher. And speaking of soybeans, while this product causes a lot lower damage to the environment, it also provides nearly 19 times more protein than steak does. So, producing the same amount of soybeans and steak, the beans will have a lot lower environmental impact, and meanwhile, it will be able to feed a lot more people. And besides all that, there's still the health aspect. There's a classification scale for likeliness of foods to cause cancer, and processed meat fits in group 1, which means it could certainly be a cause for cancer. It is also the same category as tobacco. Red meat fits in group 2A, just one category below, which qualifies it as a probable cause for cancer. And even if we avoid eating meat, we would still have a high risk of getting cancer, among many other diseases, by consuming dairy products. And the nutrients we find in meat and dairy products can easily be found in beans, nuts, or vegetables, and even in bigger amounts, like I've mentioned before. So you might be asking yourself, isn't that something our governments should be concerned about? Why do we so rarely see any information regarding this issue? And the answer is quite simple. Economy benefits immensely from livestock farming. In the US, the meat and poultry industry accounts for over $1 trillion in total economic output. So clearly, it wouldn't be in the government's interest to suppress this activity. So now, after giving you all this information, and since we know that we all care about the environment, I have something for you to think about when you go home, and to share with your friends, your family, and even your colleagues. Is it worth it to keep habits such as eating meat often or consuming animal-based products that could easily be replaced? Is it right to keep these habits even though we know that by doing that we are contributing to the damage of the environment in various different ways? Making small changes to our habits could have a great impact on the future of the human race. Thank you.